Welcome back, everybody, to Starting Six, a volleyball podcast with Hailey and Liv. We are recapping week 10 today, which is insanity. We were just saying that this is episode 19, which is also insanity. So we're pushing episode 20, which is super crazy, but also exciting. The games are only getting better. There's only more for us to talk about, and we're creeping up on making those postseason brackets. So I'm very excited. How are you?
Yeah, good. I'm super excited also because this Friday I fly out to Penn State.
Oh, I forgot.
And get to watch the Penn State football play Michigan, and then we'll be going to the Penn State Wisconsin game after. So it's coming up, and my cousin keeps texting me, and I'm so excited. So, yeah.
Oh, my God. I forgot that was this weekend already. I'm so excited for you.
Fast.
I can't wait to see everything that you put out content-wise and that you send me personally. And, I'm so excited for you.
I'm hoping to get, behind the sneens. I really hope my cousin can get me into, just see the facilities and stuff. But I'm I would die if I was, front row and, could, almost touch one of the players.
Oh my God.
We sound so crazy, but that would be a dream come true to just stare at them.
No, actually, it's gonna be so cool to even be in Rec Hall and just see that, and then on top of going to a Penn State football game, I feel like is on a lot of people's bucket list. So you just get a whole day of action.
I know, yeah. So I'm super excited, and based on how Rec Hall was this past weekend, I'm expecting it to be very similar for this weekend. So that makes it even more fun.
Yeah, we, Liv's kind of teasing it, but we have a great game of the week to go over with you guys at the end of this episode. And we're going to talk all about the fans. We're going to talk all about the game. And I'm so excited for you. I can imagine that the crowd is going to be crazy. Mm-hmm. So are you going to wear Badger stuff then?
I don't know. I have a Penn State sweatshirt, and I'm I don't know what to do. I feel like I have to, but we'll see.
Dude, I might need to pick up something.
I might have to rep both, wear the Penn State sweatshirt, but then take it off and be no, these are my true colors. Badger fan.
Yeah. No, I might have to have you swing through the bookstore and pick me up a couple things there. So, let me know if you got some time. What time do you get in on Friday?
Friday, I think later Friday night, but also with the whole my dad being a pilot thing, we just go on any flight that's available. So we might be going earlier in the day. So I'm not sure yet.
Slight plug there for Mr. Cuccio. No, if you know, you know. Liv's always on a freaking airplane. Yes. Well, I'm excited for you. I can't wait to see and hear all about it. And in real time, I'm looking forward to talking about our game of the week to just really hype you up to get going for your trip. That's going to be some really great volleyball. I'm super excited.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with all that, let's dive right into it.
Yes.
Okay. So week 10 recap here. We're going all the way back to the 1st of November, where number 2 Wisconsin hosted number 19 Purdue and won in 4. This was a great match. Super awesome. Last week we kind of talked about Purdue being a little bit of a different team on the road, which I think is true and will be reiterated in this episode of our podcast because it happens again. I never would have expected Purdue to beat Wisconsin in the field house, and they didn't. But I think this is a testament to the way Purdue plays on the road because their numbers don't look the same. Their vibe doesn't look the same, if that makes sense. It's a really big difference. Numbers. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, regardless of if they're at home or away, they're still a strong team. I mean, they're a top contender in the Big Ten. So even if they are struggling at home, it's not just going to be an easy walk-away sweep.
No, not at all. It's just kind of crazy to see the difference of their stats versus at home versus away are usually pretty different, and just their demeanor, which is probably pretty normal, but I think for whatever reason with Purdue, it's really apparent this year.
I think probably the youth in their team, they don't have a lot of upperclassmen who have experienced how to kind of present themselves on the road. And so I think that probably has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, so the scores for this game were 25-14, 16-25, 25-18, 25-14. So the numbers look like pretty far apart in a couple of the sets, but it was a really great match. We have to talk a little bit about Sarah Franklin here because she had 22 kills, 2 errors on 39 attempts for a .513 hitting percentage and 10 digs. Yeah. She played out of her mind.
Yeah. And I know like last year and at the beginning of the season, we were kind of not on the Sarah Franklin train. We weren't. We were at the bus stop waiting for the Devin Robinson train. But I'm back. I'm on the Sarah Franklin. I don't know what happened, but she is popping off and she is so dominant. And I am so happy she's a Badger. And I think she's peaking at the right time. And I think maybe some of her errors or not great games in the beginning of the season were because of her injury that she had the blood clots in her shoulder. And so I think that's kind of just like totally in the past. Like it's not even phasing her anymore.
No, it really is crazy to someone who doesn't know what happened to her. Like Sarah Franklin had blood clots in her shoulder and had surgery over the summer, and she was under the impression, and the doctors were under the impression she was never going to play volleyball again. Yeah. So she had what could have been deemed as a career-ending injury in this summer and is now one of the top contenders for Big Ten Player of the Year. I mean, she's the other thing too that I've noticed with Sarah Franklin is she makes it look so easy because she's so smart. So I think like sometimes it's common to underestimate hitters who get kills based on, tips, rolls, high hands, just swings that don't look the way that like Anna Smareks or Devin Robinson's do, where they're literally slamming the ground. Sarah Franklin finds success in being a little bit smarter, which is key for being an outside hitter for sure. But I just think that sometimes those kind of hitters you don't pay as much attention to than like the big slams by Carter Booth. And so I think sometimes Sarah Franklin can kind of fly under the radar because she's such a constant that then when you see her numbers, you're like, oh my God, she had 22 kills. Like I would have had no idea.
Yeah. And I mean, with that being so smart and playing those smarter shots, she's minimizing so many errors, whether they might not have to be kills, but she's putting them on a system, which is all that you can ask for if you're not going to get the kill. So she's very smart in that and knowing what her team needs in that point in time. If she knows that she needs to slam it, she'll slam it. But if she knows that she just needs to get the other team out of system, she knows exactly where to place it. Half the time it ends up in a kill, but the other time their other team is just scrambling. So it's an easy free ball for then Carter Booth, Devin Robinson to get the big kill.
Yeah. She's really become the glue of the Badgers offense for sure. I think she's probably the most reliable hitter that they've got on their offense. And she's only going to continue to be better because she's clearly shown that as the season's gone on, she's only gone up. Whereas I think that like we talked about in the past couple episodes, a lot of players are kind of either hitting a plateau or they're starting to go down a little bit because of that mid-season hump. And Sarah Franklin is just on the up and up.
Yeah.
But then for Purdue, obviously the duo we always talk about with Eva Hudson and Chloe Chicoine. I can never say it. Like I have it in my head, but when it comes out in words, like I have nothing.
Yeah.
So Eva had 18 kills and Chloe had 14 kills. Chloe was hitting over 200, which is really good against the Badgers. But Wisconsin was hitting over 500 as a team in set 1 and set 3.
Yikes.
So that's pretty much unstoppable. This was how I predicted the game would go. I was assuming 3 or 4. Purdue is a strong team, so 4 seemed more likely. But Wisconsin at home is a different breed of a team. This was a big match. The field house was packed. And watching these games really does give me more assurance that Nebraska will not win in the field house.
Agreed.
That's all I'm thinking about.
I know. I'm not even thinking about these games. It's just whatever. I'm looking forward for 2-3 weeks. I am waiting for the day.
Me too. No, me too. That's gonna be a great game. But this is like a helpful thing. Like when you're watching them play in the field house against a team like Purdue, you're like, all right, like it makes you feel good as a fan. But all right, moving on. Baylor, number 21 Baylor, who had a pretty big week last week, going 5 to Texas, not winning but going 5. They beat Oklahoma in 5. the scores were pretty close. They were 25-14, 25-19, 20-25, 23-25, 15-12. Elise McGee had a whopping 21 kills and a 485 hitting percentage, which is insane. And then for Oklahoma, Alexis Shelton had 20 kills, hitting over 250, and they had 2 hitters with over 14 kills.
Nice.
Baylor's on a hot streak. And I think that this game is really a testament to them, because Oklahoma put up very big numbers offensively. So I think that this is really an ode to Baylor. And they're gaining a little bit of momentum, which is nice to see.
Yeah, I think they're gaining some confidence too, and they can beat a team, whether they're ranked or not, in a 5-set, or even take a top team like Texas to 5-set. That's just a confidence booster. They're a young team. That's what they need right now. They might not have all the refined skills, but they just need to believe in themselves that they can hang on with those tough teams 2-5, especially whether they can finish through or not. It's really good to see now, because they're just going to continue to grow in the next 2-3 seasons.
Yeah, what Baylor has is really special, and it's something that Wisconsin had a few years back, and that is having a young team that you can build momentum with. That's what we're seeing Nebraska do right now. Obviously, Nebraska being the iconic program that they are, their recruiting is probably a little different looking than Baylor's, just because it's Nebraska volleyball. Like, everyone wants to play there. However, I think that that's something unique and special to get to have a heavy freshman class that's a lot of starters, or a freshman, sophomore, couple juniors kind of lineup, because you're really looking at the next 2-3 years of your program. So I think that Baylor just gaining momentum in the second half of this season, and maybe into the postseason a little bit, can kind of snowball them into the 2024 season, into that spring season, to really continue to build on what they have, because they're ranked. They've been top 25 all year. So I think that they're really setting themselves up for a lot of success in the future. And I think that Baylor is going to be a team that we're talking about pretty frequently next year and the year after that.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. The last one on the first that I want to really dive into was a major upset. Georgia hosted number 8 Arkansas and swept. I was shocked to see this. So the scores were 25-22, 25-19, 25-22. Georgia's top hitter, Sophie Fisher, had 22 kills, hitting a 4.41 and 7 blocks. And Arkansas's top hitter was Jillian Gillen with 16 kills, hitting over 210 digs. This surprised me because Arkansas has been so consistent.
Yeah.
So consistent. So in a way, I'm like, this might have been bound to happen, but I wish it would have happened to a lower ranked team than an unranked team. However, Georgia is a team we've talked about before. Last week, they almost took down number 25 Auburn, I think is what they were at, or 24.
Yeah.
So, Georgia also has some momentum building, and they're a team we've talked about pretty frequently while they're unranked, but this sucks for Arkansas. They've really been consistent.
Yeah. No, it is a really tough look. And I mean, they'll be fine, but that's not how you want to go, especially we talked about the midseason blues, and you're kind of trying to get over that hump, and then you lose like this. That just sets you all the way back. Sometimes it can light a spark under you and you'll be fine, but a lot of times it just is like soul crushing. It's like, what happened? No one knows. There's no explanation for it. But I mean, good for Georgia. They put up a good fight against a few ranked teams, not necessarily beating them, but I'm looking at their schedule right now, but taking them to 4, taking them to 5. So good for them.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where you're just like, this kind of upset is upsetting actually. Because like I said, Arkansas has been so consistent. Like we've mentioned them, but like not really dove deep, because they've just been sweeping teams. Like they've really been so consistent. And like you said, I think this is going to hit them a little bit hard in their rankings and in their conference. Like it's just not really what you want to see. However, in my opinion, if it was going to be any unranked team, Georgia's not a bad one for it to be.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, the other two games that I was going to run through really quickly that I thought were worth mentioning. Illinois swept Northwestern, and DePaul hosted number 25 Marquette, and Marquette won in 4. So Marquette's been cruising along a little bit. The only game that I thought was worth mentioning on November 2nd was Texas swept West Virginia, which I feel like is probably pretty predictable. Mm-hmm. So moving on to November 3rd, we had a big matchup here. Well, I thought it was going to be a little bit bigger than it was, but number 5 Stanford gets the win over number 9 Washington State in 4. The scores were very close. It was 21-25, 25-21, 25-20, 25-23. Stanford's top hitter was Elia Rubin. She had 18 kills, hitting almost to 300. And Kendall Kipp had 16 kills, hitting just over 200. And then for Washington State, the usual Aman Isanovic, she had 18 kills, hitting a 255. Washington State is just taking a beating.
They are. I was just thinking, like, what, last week, 2 weeks ago, they were number 4. And now they're number 9. Last week they just keep dropping.
Yeah, last week, they took a beating. Let me see if I can find these games in my messy notes. Yeah, so last week, Washington State was ranked number 6, and they fell to number 9 at the time. Oregon in 4, and then I thought there was another one.
Well, the week before, so week 8, they were number 4, and that is when they had lost to USC in 5 in the reverse sweep. And so that's what really started the tumble, and they cannot get their footing back.
No, because after they lost to ranked Oregon, they lost to unranked Oregon State in 5 at home.
Yeah, pick it up, Washington State. I don't know what is happening, but
yeah, they're really just taking a beating. But that is, but the other half of that is that Stanford is Stanford. Yeah. They were hitting over 300 in sets 2 and 3 and over 200 in sets 1 and 4. So, they didn't come to mess around.
No.
But yeah, unfortunate to see Washington State probably wouldn't be my winner if I had to predict in this match, but it is tough to see them just continue to just take an absolute beating these past few weeks after being such a strong team that we've talked about a ton.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they can do towards the end of the season for postseason, to see if they can build up that momentum back, or if they're just going to ride that wave, ride down the slide. I don't know. I feel like right now they're super unpredictable, and that's scary because you're just over the hump of about halfway. So what are you going to do with that? Right. Yeah.
You got to pick it up quick. You're running out of time. And I think that a win over Stanford would have been just what they needed. Yeah. But obviously not how it played out. So
yeah, I mean, luckily they started super hot. So like it takes a while to drop out of the top 25, but they are dropping very quickly.
Yeah, and at least this loss was to a ranked team.
Yes, that helps.
Yeah, I mean, it could be worse. They could be Louisville. As my transition into the next match. Number 10, Georgia Tech came out with a win in 4 over number 3, Louisville. Those scores were 26-24, 25-22, 17-25, 25-19. I think I didn't watch this game because they make it impossible to watch Louisville for whatever reason. But, Georgia Tech's top hitter was Tamara Oteni, and she only had 11 kills, and she was hitting a .083. So I think this was a heavy defensive game for Georgia Tech. They had passers with 16 digs, 12 digs, 10 digs, and, 8, 6, kind of going down from there. But the real kicker that I really want to talk about, and why I think this game played out the way it did, is Anna DeBeer had 7 kills and was hitting a 0.
Yep, there you go.
I really think that is everything.
Especially if Georgia Tech's defense was so strong, and then you just continue to set Anna DeBeer. She runs out of options. she can only hit so hard. She can only throw so many shots in.
Yeah, because Charity Looper, the other outside, had 15 kills, hitting a .233. So she was finding success, but Anna was not.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen her at a 7-kill stat yet this year.
No, honestly, I don't think we've seen her below 10. Or hitting below a .100%. Like, I really don't think we've seen that.
No, I don't either. My comment was, Anna, no. And, you're a player, you're a human, you have bad games, but I think it just is a testament. Georgia Tech's a great team. I'm not selling that. I'm just saying that, when we talk about Nebraska, if Merritt Beason and Harper Murray are hitting a 0, you're going to win. Yeah. And I think that's a testament to who Anna DeBeer is on that team. And when she can't find success for whatever reason that it was, and I won't say because I didn't watch, that is how teams beat you. When your key heart, soul, top hitter, best hitter is off their game and no one else is doing enough to kind of cover that, which, could have been the setter, could have been out of system, God only knows. It really shows. So I think it's mostly a testament to her as a player and as a leader. And when you're hitting 0s, you ain't leading very well. That's just the way that it goes.
That's true. And it's also tough when you are that leader, when you are a 6 rotation outside hitter. If your hitting is off, your passing is most likely going to be off as well because you're just in your head. And so then that leads to out of system balls, aces, whatever it may be, not as much effort for digs, things like that. And so it messes with your all around game. And her being a key 6 rotation hitter, she had nothing to give if she is hitting 0.
Yeah. So it's a tough loss for Louisville on the road. I don't think it'll hurt them too much overall because Georgia Tech was number 10. But I was a little surprised to see that, especially with Georgia Tech has been a little inconsistent as of late. So I was a little surprised to see that. But when I saw that Anna was hitting a 0, I was like, well, you didn't need to watch the game to know what happened there. So,
yeah.
Okay, moving on. Not an upset, but number 20, Florida hosted number 11, Tennessee, and Tennessee barely escaped with a win in 5. The scores were 23-25, 25-14, 20-25, 25-23, 15-13. But what I really want to talk about here is Miss Kennedy Martin from Florida. She had, so she's a right side, and I believe she's still playing all the way around.
Yeah.
And when she's in the back row, I think she's in middle back.
Yes. So she can hit.
Yeah, so she can hit. So Kennedy Martin had 28 kills, 66 attempts, hitting a .273, and 10 digs.
Wow.
28 kills. Also, 66 attempts for a right side hitter, regardless if they play all the way around, is absurd.
Yeah.
And we only see that with one other team, and that's Nebraska.
I was just going to say that the only 2 right side hitters that get probably more attempts than their outsides, which is kind of a loose term, but is Nebraska, Merritt Beason, and Florida's Kennedy Martin. Like, those are the only 2 that I have seen in a long time where they are getting equal or more reps than their outside hitters.
Yeah. No, it's insanity. I mean, it's not common to, have a team of this caliber who, you're not talking about their outsides being their best hitters. Like, I feel like that's pretty common. And those 2 teams have shown that the right sides can run the show as well. And they have been. So big numbers from Kennedy. I also wanted to mention that Needy Okamore, she had 12 kills and 1 error, hitting a .524. So that was good numbers from Florida as well.
Yeah.
On the flip side, for Tennessee, Janasia Moore. She had 23 kills, hitting almost a 416 digs.
Damn.
And then Morgan Fingal had 17 kills, hitting a 189. So also very large numbers coming out of Tennessee. Tennessee's been on a roll. They really have. They have momentum on their side for sure.
Yeah, I like to see it. You don't see Tennessee up in the top 10s and the top 15s and the top 25s very often. So it's really exciting to see that.
Yeah, I did watch a little bit of this match, and Tennessee looks very strong. They limit their amount of errors. They seem to like play pretty cohesive together. And it's unfortunate for Florida. I think after Alexis Stuckey went down, we all knew that this wasn't going to be the season that they had hoped it was going to be. So definitely a little unfortunate. However, like they're still putting up numbers to be big contenders. I mean, they are number 20 and Tennessee's number 11. So this score is closer than it really technically should be. So, just Tennessee, I just think has a lot of momentum on their side. But with Kennedy Martin putting up 28 kills, I think Florida's, gaining a little speed as well.
Yeah, I think they'll be okay.
All right. In an in-state battle here, number 14, Kansas hosted Kansas State and 1-5, barely. So the scores of that were 25-16, 25-23, 20-25, 19-25, 15-12. And Miss London Davis for Kansas put up 28 kills with 3 errors, hitting a 5.56. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
And then Aya El Nady had 18 kills, 3 errors on 64 attempts, hitting a 2.34.
Damn.
Big numbers.
Yeah.
However, on Kansas State, Aliyah Carter had 24 kills on 68 attempts, hitting a 162, and Sydney Bolding had 15 kills, 0 errors, hitting a 6.25. Big numbers. Yeah. I will say one thing I do like about like an in-state battle, a border battle, like those kind of things is that that's the kind of stuff that gets people watching volleyball. Like I'm sure I'm not a Kansas fan, but I'm sure that there's some kind of like historic rivalry between Kansas and Kansas State. And I'm sure that these kind of games draw in some viewers. So they do make me excited. Like I like seeing this stuff and I think that the fans like it. And this was a great match for people to have tuned in to watch. Yeah,
it's definitely so much fun. I mean, you're all in the same state, but the rivalry is huge. And it just, I don't know, the excitement, the competitor in you, it just brings out in those kinds of matches, and they're just a lot of fun to see.
Yeah. However, they make it hard to watch. So, you win some years. Okay, last game on the third I want to dive into was an upset. A sad upset.
Tough upset.
Tough. So number 6 Pitt fell to Florida State in Florida. Tully Hall, I believe, is what it's called. And I like it because it reminds me of Game of Thrones. Those scores were 25-18, 25-21, 23-25, 18-25, 16-14. Yep. And what really impressed me was I don't feel like there were very large numbers thrown up from Florida State. Their top hitter had 14 kills, hitting a 175, and the next best had 12 kills, hitting a 476, versus Pitt, who had Olivia Babcock with 19 kills, hitting almost 300. Tori Stafford had 17 kills, and Valeria Vasquez Gomez had 14 kills.
Yeah.
So the math ain't mathin' for me. However, as I was looking at the stats, and like we said, defensive stats are harder to look at than offensive stats, but Florida State had 36 block assists.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it must have been a pretty heavily defensive game. And then in that same light, for Florida State, Kylene Filamua, I don't know. Kylene is her name. She's the libero. She had 16 digs. Yeah. So it seems to me like it was a pretty heavy defensive game for Florida State, which is how you beat Pitt.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't let them get kills. Simple.
Yeah. That's tough though. Number 6.
Yeah. Good for Florida State. That's a real morale booster.
Yeah.
That's gotta feel good.
I would agree. Okay, so really quick, I'll just run through some other matches that were predictable, so we're not going to dive too deep. Number 4, Texas swept West Virginia back-to-back. Number 7, Oregon swept Utah. Number 12, BYU, finally back on top there, swept Cincinnati. Number 15, Arizona State swept UCLA. Number 17, Creighton swept DePaul. Number 18, Dayton swept Rhode Island. Number 22, Houston swept UCF. Michigan swept Iowa, just a little Big Ten sprinkle in there. And then some 4-set matches I've got on here. Number 23, Western Kentucky wins over FIU in 4. Number 13, Kentucky wins over South Carolina in 4. And Minnesota wins over Ohio State in 4.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else on the 3rd that I might have missed?
Nope.
Alrighty, moving on to the 4th. I actually don't have any games I really want to dive into. I feel like a lot of it's pretty predictable. However, stop me if something intrigues you.
Yes.
So number 2, Wisconsin swept Illinois and really swept them.
Yeah.
Number 12, BYU swept Cincinnati round 2. Number 14, Kansas now sweeps Kansas State in their second matchup. Number 18, Baylor sweeps Rhode Island in their second matchup. Number 21, Baylor sweeps Texas Tech. Number 23, Western Kentucky sweeps FIU in their second matchup. Then I have some 4-setters. Number 22, Houston goes to 4 with UCF and wins. And Ohio State wins in 4 over Indiana. Those scores were crazy close. Ohio State and Indiana, it was 25-23, 27-29, 25-23, 25-23.
Jesus.
Crazy match.
Good match.
In Ohio.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the 5th.
Mm-hmm.
I got 3 games I want to pull out.
Okay.
Number 1, number 19, Purdue taking down number 16, Penn State in Indiana. Right? Yeah, Indiana. When I said it out loud, it didn't sound right because we were talking about other Indiana.
Yeah.
In West Lafayette in 5.
Yeah.
Sad, because Penn State really just this close.
They're so close. My note is no, Penn State.
No.
Yeah, they're right there. They look strong. That's the thing. It's like they look really strong. I think they are finally figuring out their groove with new players, transfers, yada yada yada. But also they're switching up their lineup. And so I don't know how long that it's been in this lineup, at least one game prior. So I don't know how many games prior before that this lineup has been. But I think if they had more time and had this from the very beginning, they would be a lot more dominant with their new lineup.
Yeah, I agree. And again, I think this goes back to what we said in the beginning. Purdue is a different team at home.
Yes.
Like I watched this game and I think that if Purdue was in Penn State, it would not have been this outcome.
No.
And I think that if Purdue played the way they did against Penn State in the field house, I don't think it would have been a different outcome, but it would have been a much closer match.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, the scores for these games. Wait, did I say them already? No, I didn't.
No.
The scores were 25-17, 25-15, 21-25, 20-25, 15-12. Now, Chloe and Eva put up big numbers again. So Chloe had 27 kills on 61 attempts for a 0.377% and 14 digs. And Eva Hudson had 24 kills on 67 attempts for a 0.254 hitting percentage. For Penn State, Jess Mierzik had 27 kills on 72 attempts, hitting a 0.278% with 11 digs. And Zoe Weatherington had 11 kills, hitting a 444.
Nice.
Yeah, my comment, like, you can't beat Purdue at home.
No.
There's some magic in West Lafayette. I don't know.
Yeah. But what does it take for that to transfer over then to your away games? Like Purdue, you could be so dominant and you can be in the top 8 probably if you took that energy, took that play on the road. Like you need to figure it out. Otherwise you're going to be stuck in the teens. You're going to be stuck in the middle section of the Big Ten. You need to figure it out. Like, what does it take for you to transfer that on the road?
I agree. And it's something too that's so hard because it's hard to gauge what the team actually looks like.
Yeah.
Are you who you are when you're at home, or are you who you are when you're on the road? Because when the NCAA tournament starts, you might not be at home. So are you telling me that a team who's almost probably close to undefeated at home can't make it far in the NCAA tournament because they only play well when they're at home? So is it a factor of the fans and the student section that they play? Is it a comfort? Is it an age thing? Like, I don't know, but it's so apparent with this team how different they are when they're on the road.
Yeah. Yeah. And with the whole fans things, every arena, every stadium, every place that you play at has fans. Whether they're cheering for you or not, they're still cheering. You just have to transfer that energy from them cheering for their team to them cheering for you and just switch it in your head. And then there you go. You have your fans back.
Yeah.
So it's like you said, I was going to bring up the whole, what are you going to do when it comes to postseason? Odds of you hosting all games to the championship are slim to none.
Right.
Slim to none. So then what are you going to do? Are you going to sneak by in a 5-set thriller, or are you just going to get swept your first match away?
Right. Yeah. I just would love to see like a little more of that energy translate when they're on the road. And I think you're right. I think if they played the way they play when they're at home, if they played that way all the time, they would be much higher than 19.
Yeah.
Much higher.
For sure.
The only other comment I want to make about this is I am such a Zoe Weatherington fan. Like, for Penn State, I adore her. I love watching her play. I think she's fantastic. She has not been in the lineup for the past few weeks, and I'm very happy to see her back. She is someone we'll talk about again in our game of the week, but I just love watching her play. And then I don't know if the NCAA posted it or Penn State posted it, but it came up on my Instagram of her being mic'd up while she was like doing a workout or something.
Yeah.
She seems like just the best. Like, I cannot get enough of her. I love watching her play, and I'm so happy she's back in the lineup.
Me too. Especially when this was my team to watch this year. She was one of the reasons why, because she's a fifth year. She has played in the past, and she's been very dominant. She has a great block. She has a heavy swing, and then she's not even starting, and she hasn't started, nor has she really entered a game until this past weekend that I'm aware of. And I don't know why. Like, I don't know if there's more to it than we thought. She was just underperforming what there is. But just like you said, I am very happy because I think it's a completely different Penn State team when she's in.
I agree. She just seems like the fun person to have on the court. And she just, I don't know, she's just one of those like players that gets in the game and you're just like Zoe's in. Like, I can't, like, I want to watch her. She was a very big factor in why the game that we're going to talk about went the way it did. So we'll touch back on Zoe Weatherington, but I just wanted to mention, I think she was a big factor in this game as well. And I just very much enjoy seeing her playing again.
Yeah.
All right. So next game I want to talk about is number 20 Florida hosting number 13 Kentucky. The Kentucky came out with a win in 4. However, this game was very close as well. Yeah. The scores were 25-23, 20-25, 25-22, 25-18, and Kennedy Martin again puts up 27 kills, hitting a .423.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
That's super hard to fathom. Like, I could barely get a kill on the right side in like one rotation.
And she's getting almost 30.
Like, for people who don't fully understand, outside is the easiest position to hit from because the ball is where the ball is positioned, your body's opened up to it, and it just feels a lot more fluid. But from the right side, half the time the ball is coming from behind you if it's an out of system ball, which probably a lot of those are. You're not in system that much for her to get 27 kills. So she has to figure out where the ball is coming from behind her, and then the ball is typically to your left shoulder. You have to get your right shoulder to it and hit it in the court and not get blocked. Yeah. Like, it's very difficult on the right side. And so that is very impressive. Her, Mary Beason, Devin Robinson, all of the right sides that are phenomenal. Like, that is very difficult to do.
Yeah, it's a huge difference. And I believe Kennedy Martin is right-handed. And so, like Liv said, when you're on the outside, the other thing is like, not only it's easier to line up when you're right-handed, but you can see the entirety of the other side of the court, and your momentum is kind of moving forward a little bit. You have more room to take a bigger approach, and you can see the blockers pretty easily, and you can basically see the entirety of the other court.
Yeah.
And then you have a little bit of a longer time to get to the ball and time it with the ball versus a middle and a right side, because you're much closer to the setter. And I think that for Kennedy Martin to be able to see the ball over her left shoulder and lining up to her right, on top of hitting around a block and being able to score this many kills, meaning she can see the court pretty well, is really a testament. The right side is a very difficult position when you are right-handed.
Yes.
The other thing too, though, that I do want to mention that we've talked about many times, Kentucky's top hitter was Brooklyn Deli. She had 15 kills, hitting a 256 and 10 digs, and they also had 2 other hitters with 13 kills. So I think this is kind of what we've talked about in the past, where you gotta spread the wealth.
Yeah, and I think Kentucky does a pretty good, like, they're always a team that we're like, they are doing it right. They might not be the most dominant, but they are consistently spreading the wealth.
Yeah, and it is hard when Kennedy Martin can put up almost 30 kills, but in back-to-back matches, like, it's hard to get it in your head to spread the wealth a little bit. But I think that that's something that Florida's going to have to work on to be successful. Like, build off of what Kennedy can give you, but also allow her a little bit of grace and allow other hitters to kind of mess with the other side of the net. And I think that's what Kentucky does, and they can spread the wealth enough where, you know, they have a girl with almost half the amount of kills that Kennedy has, but 2 other girls right behind her. So I think that's kind of where that comes into play. It's something we've talked about quite a bit, but Kennedy Martin cannot win games alone.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and not only does it give other players opportunities, but for those who don't know, when you spread the wealth, it throws off your block. It throws off the other team's defense so much, because you don't know where they're going to set. With Kennedy Martin, she's their top swing. With Sarah Franklin on Wisconsin, she's their top swing. Your block can be pretty set on them. Their defense can set up around that block. But when you are going every which way, ping pong in between middle, right side, outside, you don't know where to go. Your middle blocker gets stuck, and then you have a one block or a seam, and so it's a lot easier to get kills. So I think that's where Kentucky is thriving right now, and they, for the majority of the season, they have been down in the 20s and 19s. So they are working their way up, and I think that is why, because they are able to throw off the other team's block so well by spreading the wealth and using their middles when they need to.
Yeah, it's harder to watch film too. Like, it's harder to scout other teams. When you're watching Florida, when you're watching Nebraska, when you're watching Louisville, it's pretty easy to see who's going to be their go-to. How does that, then you can just study that go-to. Instead of studying 4 or 5 offensive threats, you're studying 1 to 2. And I think that for a team like Kentucky, they're number 13 for a reason. I'm sure they do a ton of scouting. And when you're watching Florida and you're seeing them just constantly go to Kennedy, who is very tall, very dominant hitter, and she's putting up big numbers. However, it's a little bit easier to be like, okay, let's serve them out of system so Kennedy can't be in the rotation because she's a right side, et cetera, et cetera. It's easier to watch film. It's easier to pinpoint ways to get around the fact that she's 6'8" or whatever she is. It's easier to get around that, and that's how you win games. And I like Liv said, I think spreading the wealth, like, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about a game that's going to put me in a bad mood. Because, you know, we get on last week. I make it my game of the week. I give them kudos. And the most inconsistent team in the fucking NCAA gets swept by an unranked team after beating Stanford. USC, University of Southern California, sweeps number 15, you guessed it, Arizona State. Arizona motherfucking State cannot get their shit together.
I think Arizona State has been graciously granted a spot in the top 25 to solely piss you off, because every week it's the opposite. Like you said, we praise them. Good job, Arizona State. You're doing good. Next, get swept by every unranked team imaginable. Next weekend, fucking is gonna be number 1 Nebraska. Who fucking knows? We don't know. they would be the team of all other than Wisconsin to beat Nebraska somehow.
No, literally, like Arizona State's gonna end up in the fucking national championship somehow, some way. Like it makes no sense. I don't understand. How do you go into a week and beat number 3 Stanford and knock them down 2 spots in the national ranking, which I don't think anyone has been able to do to Stanford quite yet. And then you turn around and you lose to USC. Now USC's in the top 25.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Number 15 in the country. My ass. That is ridiculous. Like, I don't get it. And I'm not a hater. It's just fucking annoying. Like,
it is. It is. Every other team, like we talked about Washington State starting out hot and now they're just going down the slide. Arizona State is on an endless roller coaster and they're never getting off. I don't think they ever will.
It has to be exhausting to be on that team and to be a coach of that team. You got to be tired.
Oh my God. And I'm sure those girls want to rip each other's heads off at this point. Like, I couldn't even fucking imagine.
You're probably 100% right.
Oh my God. Maybe they had a better team environment than we did at times.
I'm sure most.
Oh God.
So the scores of this game were 25-23, 25-23, 25-16. Skylar Fields of USC put up 24 kills, hitting almost 400. Which is massive. 24 kills in a 3-setter is crazy. For Arizona State, though, Marta Levinska put up 21 kills, hitting just over 400. So it was probably a back-to-back battle, and Arizona State just couldn't get it done. My only, I wish you could see my spreadsheet. My only comment is, you're joking. Like, that's it. I have nothing else. You're joking. Like, this is a sick joke.
It is. It is. I think they're the little like pawn in the NCAA volleyball tournament that these people are just toying around with everyone and they're just placing them wherever. Oh my God.
It's so frustrating. Like, I want to root for you. I really do, but you make it impossible.
You make it impossible. You make me hate Arizona State so much.
Literally, they've really taken the place of Minnesota for me in these past few episodes. You were just my game of the week. You were just the game of the week for defeating one of the best teams in the country, and now you're losing to USC and letting them in the top 25.
Yep. Yeah.
It's sick. It's sick.
It's a sick joke. Please.
I'm writing a letter to the freaking AVCBVA, whatever it is, and I'm going to say, get these people out of the fucking top 25 and put someone else in there. It makes me mad. All right.
And that's our soapbox about Arizona
I knew it was gonna piss me off because as soon as I saw it, I literally was like, you're joking.
I know. I saw it and my jaw dropped. I was like, of course. Well, why? Like, what else are you to expect?
At this point, I don't know. And that really upsets me because sometimes I'm like, yeah, you fucking got swept because that's what you do. And then other times I'm like, how did you beat Stanford? Wait, what the hell? Like, should I be your fan or should I not? Because it's confusing me. And it's the only team in any of these that we talk about, it's the only team that literally makes me so angry because I can't figure it out. There's no consistency whatsoever. Like at least Purdue, I know when they play at home, they're going to play really well. They might not play the same on the road, but at least at home, they're consistent. Arizona State, nothing.
Wild card.
They're really going to fuck my bracket up too. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Oh my God. I don't even want to think about that. I don't want to think about it because as soon as you put them to win, they're going to fucking lose. As soon as you put them to lose, they're going to fucking win. So what are you supposed to do?
That's exactly what's going to happen. And those episodes when we do our brackets and then these people are fucking us over left and right. I know Arizona State's going to be one of them. And I'm going to have to lower the volume on my mic when I'm in this like post-production for this because I'm going to be so angry if they're the reason that my bracket gets ruined.
They are. And you don't know what to do. Like I said, whatever you choose, they're going to do the opposite. So you're screwed. You're screwed no matter what.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anyway. Okay. All right. Next, I'll just run through the remainder of some of the games on the 5th, and then we'll get into our game of the week. So number 3, Louisville defeats Clemson in 4. Number 5, Stanford defeats Washington, not to be confused with Washington State. This is just Washington in 4. Number 6, Pitt beats Miami in 4. Number 7, Oregon beats Colorado in 4. And I want to pause for a second to read you these scores because this makes no sense to me either. So the Oregon-Colorado scores, Oregon beat Colorado in set 1, 25-7.
Mm-hmm.
Then they lose set 2, 24-26. Then they win set 3, 25-20. And then they win set 4, 25-9.
That also pissed me off. Like, just sweep them. What are you doing?
Yeah, lay down and die or fight until the end.
Seriously, none of this little, like, letting them have some glimmer of hope. No, just fucking crush them.
Exactly. I just wanted to point that out because I was typing these and I actually went back to make sure I typed it incorrectly because I was like, what? Okay, next Minnesota defeats Northwestern in 4, and then Missouri takes down Georgia, who was coming off of a big win, in 5. Mizzou, I think we talked about last week or the week before. They've kind of been lingering around, defeating some pretty big teams. Georgia coming off a big sweep over number 8 Arkansas and then losing to Missouri in 5. Then some sweeps I just want to cover quick. Number 1 Nebraska sweeps Rutgers at Rutgers. Number 8 Arkansas bounces back and sweeps Mississippi State. Number 9 Washington State also bounces back and sweeps California. Number 10 Georgia Tech sweeps Notre Dame. Number 17 Creighton sweeps number 25 Marquette. Thought that was kind of interesting. And Michigan sweeps Maryland. Anything else I might have missed?
Nope.
All right, let's get into our game of the week because I'm excited to talk to you about this. So Liv and I had no communication about which game we were going to choose for a game of the week, but of course it was the same one because this definitely was the game of the week. The game we are referring to is number 16 Penn State hosted number 1 Nebraska, and Nebraska managed to pull the reverse sweep, which we love, on Penn State. However, I will say I really thought Penn State was going to pull out a big win over Nebraska, and I thought they were going to do it in 3.
I did too. Oh my God. I literally have a text from Jack because he wasn't home, and he was like, "You think Penn State can do it?" And I was like, "I truly think that they can sweep them." And now I'm regretting it because I think because I put that into the universe, it didn't happen. And I'm so mad at myself.
You know what the worst part is? My mom and I were talking about this because we turned on the game after set 2.
I know. I was like, I figured you guys were watching. And so when I said that to you and you're like, "Oh, I got to turn it on," I was like, crap, Hailey's going to watch.
And that's exactly what I did. Yeah, it was a little unfortunate, I will say. I felt a little guilty for sure. But only if you're a little superstitious. But for me, I just think like the biggest thing was Penn State just came out so hot. So the little backstory on that. So my mom and I was at home at my parents' house this weekend, and my mom and I were having a great conversation, just talking about life, talking about all things. And my watch starts buzzing, and it's Miss Cujo, and she's going, "Dude, are you watching this Penn State Nebraska game?" And in my head, I was thinking that it was probably going to be a beating. So no, I wasn't. And I ran to the TV, and my mom sat on the couch and I was standing up. I turned the game on, and simultaneously both of us go, like we couldn't believe, because it was right after set 2. So they had the scores up, and literally we were like jaws on the floor. It was insanity. So anyway, what I'm referring to, I'll read you the scores here. So Penn State went up 15-25, 23-25, and then Nebraska pulled the reverse sweep 25-18, 25-20, 15-13. I'm going to come back to Nebraska's hitters. I'm going to talk about Penn State first. Jess Mirzik had 21 kills, 5 errors on 54 attempts. She was hitting just under 300. 21 kills is smaller than what she has been doing lately. However, that's still really big numbers. The next best hitter, Cameron Hanna, had 10 kills, 4 errors, and she hit a 231. Harper Murray for Nebraska had 15 kills, 4 errors, only 29 attempts, and she was hitting a 379 with 14 digs. However, the star of the show, per usual, was Miss Merritt Beason. She had 27 kills, 4 errors on 54 attempts, hitting a 426. This was her career high.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that, don't get me wrong, Nebraska overall is a fantastic team, like through and through. But I think Merritt Beason will be the reason that they go all the way this year.
Agreed. I was just thinking, like, Nebraska has to be so thankful that she came from Florida, because if she was not there, I don't know what this Nebraska team would look like, to be completely honest.
Me either. And I honestly, too, at like the end of the day, I think she has been such a constant. She has not had a bad game. Like,
No.
she really hasn't. And when I hear her talk in these post-game interviews, I'm just so overly impressed with her, and her like her whole demeanor and her mindset on being a leader is so crazy good. I'm like obsessed with her. Like, I love watching her. And when we were in set 5 of this match, my mom and I, because a little part of you wants to root for Penn State, right? Like that's been big for Wisconsin.
Yeah.
That's what my mom kept saying. She's so cute. She's sitting on the couch and she goes, I hate rooting against Nebraska, but this would be so good for the Badgers. But yeah, it's just like every time the ball went to her, my mom and I are both like, ooh, like she's gonna get a kill. But I mean, that's just a testament to who she is as a player. She's just crazy.
Yeah, and we've talked about this multiple times. Nebraska on the road can't figure it out in the first 2 sets, and it showed. Their defense struggled a lot, but it's a testament to Penn State's block, and I understand why they're number 1 in the Big Ten, if not all of volleyball, for like the best blocking team, because holy fudge, their blocking was on. And I think it took Nebraska those first 2 sets to figure out that they can't keep setting Harper Murray in the outside. And I think that was part of the reason why she only had 29 attempts, and that they needed to put some different shots in with Merritt Beason and with the middles. But there is one block that Zoe Weatherington had. It was a solo block. I was just like,
I know, she was insane defensively in this game.
Oh my God. She wasn't even in position, just moved her hands over, and it was straight down. There was no chance. I was like, my body was shaking. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. She was crazy. She had a couple really big swings at Lexi Rodriguez too that were not picked up. And I just think she was like a very dominant force in this match. As we kind of mentioned earlier, having her back in the rotation has been a big change for Penn State in the best way.
Yeah. And go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just going to talk about the Penn State fans, because it was their whiteout match and they had so much energy. I think that played a huge factor in how Penn State started and even how they continued. I mean, to go to 5 with Nebraska, that's hard in general. And to be so close to winning and not giving up, I mean, that's a lot. So they used every ounce of energy and excitement that they could from the fans. And they were wild. It was so fun to watch.
Yeah, and I loved they all had like pom-poms or towels, and it was almost like too much, because where the camera was, they were standing up and they were waving these things around, and I was almost yelling like, stop waving the towel, I can't see.
I know.
But yeah, no, it definitely looked like it was packed. It looked so much fun when they would pull back and you could see the whole arena. It looked really cool. I did see while I was watching the game that there was a rec hall attendance record versus Nebraska. 6,645 people were there, breaking the previous record of 6,505 people versus Maryland in 2015. So it's been a while since they've broken that record, and it makes sense that it was going to be against Nebraska. Wouldn't be surprised if that number maybe goes up a little bit when Wisconsin's there.
Yeah. My one thing about this match, and it has nothing to do with the volleyball aspect of it, but especially during the 5th set, the cameramen were starting to change their angle of the game. So instead of looking at the whole court, they were going on the end line of the Nebraska team. And I was literally screaming at the TV because I couldn't see what was happening, and it was hurting my head. But I was like, why the frick frack are you doing this in the 5th set of this insane match? Like, no one can see. And
they do that when Wisconsin plays too. I don't like it.
I saw something on Twitter about it too. I was like, thank you. Someone else understands my frustration with them doing that. I was like, it's one thing to do it when someone's serving, like to get their angle behind them or something, but to do it for the whole play and then multiple plays in the fifth set, I was like, oh my God, you guys are going to kill me.
I hate the end line. And I think a part of it is like to show you kind of like what it might look like if you were on the sort of thing. But at the end of the day, you can't see. And it's just not effective because maybe if it was higher up, but like it's not. It's literally directly behind. Like floor level, and it's not good. I hate that angle. I hate when they do it in the field house too. I can't see anything. And I don't know if they were doing it because of the people flipping the towels around, like it was blocking completely.
Maybe.
But I agree with you. I don't like that angle at all.
Yeah.
The other couple things I just wanted to touch on really quick. Last thing on Penn State here. They came out so hot in the first two sets. In set one, as a collective team, they had 16 kills, 0 errors on 29 attempts, hitting a 5.52 overall. And in set two, they had 18 kills, 5 errors, 33 attempts, hitting a 3.94. Those are the biggest numbers that any team has had against Nebraska this year by a long shot. And then the last couple things I just want to touch on really quick. Merritt Beason was awarded Big Ten Player of the Week. So in the past week, aka her game against Penn State and Rutgers, she was averaging 6 kills per set. She was hitting a 4.47 and had 48 kills overall for a right side. Like we mentioned, that is insanity. And Rutgers was a sweep, so that's a lot of kills. The other couple things they touched on, along with her career high of 27 kills versus Penn State, she was also awarded NCAA Volleyball Big Time Performer versus Rutgers, where she had her 21 kills, and tied the program record for the most kills in a 3-set match, which was those 21 kills versus Rutgers. So she had a fantastic week.
Yeah. Good for her.
Oh, Nebraska. We really messed up not putting her in our episode 2 there with the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Well,
I apologize, Miss Beason.
Yeah, we didn't talk about you enough, sister.
All right. But now we can't stop talking about you, so.
The whole world can't.
Literally. She's just so cute, too. Like, she just looks like the nicest, like, just friendliest person on the planet.
No, she's really doing amazing things. I mean, she just transferred to Florida. She's a true junior. And for her to be a captain, her first year at Nebraska is crazy. She's playing on a team with a lot of freshmen, and she's also, I mean, a junior. She's an upperclassman, but like freshly. And she's playing with a lot of freshmen in a program that a lot of people thought was going to be a rebuilding year. She's playing for she's playing for the most iconic college volleyball franchise, and she's been dominating. She's been a strong leader. She leads in kills, and I don't know. She's just having an absolute year. I think that, as much as I'm becoming a champion for Sarah Franklin and the Badgers, I think that Merritt Beason has definitely locked in the Big Ten Player of the Year, in my personal opinion. On top of obviously being an All-American. I just think this has been the best. Transferring to Nebraska was the best thing she could have done.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Especially with what happened to Florida this year.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on the game of the week?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Let's dive into the week 11 rankings that came out this afternoon.
Yeah.
At number 1 remains Nebraska. Shaky ground after that Penn State battle. Number 2, Wisconsin holds that spot. Number 3 is Texas. Number 4 is Stanford, and Louisville drops to number 5. Oregon is number 6. Pitt drops to number 7. Georgia Tech moves up to number 8. Washington State, number 9. They stayed the same, right?
Yeah.
Tennessee moves up to number 10. Arkansas moves down to number 11. BYU remains at number 12. Kentucky remains at number 13. Kansas remains at number 14.
Yeah.
Creighton moves up to number 15. Purdue moves up to number 16. 3 spots. Arizona State falls to number 17. Dayton remains at number 18. I don't know how long they've been there, but it's been a long time. Penn State drops to number 19. Baylor moves up to number 20. Florida drops to number 21. Houston remains at number 22. Western Kentucky remains at number 23. Auburn moved up to number 24. to make room for number 25, USC.
Mm-hmm.
So Purdue went up 3, Creighton went up 2, and Georgia Tech went up 2, and USC has entered the chat.
Yes, they have. Hopefully they can stay a little bit longer than the other 25 spots have.
Yeah, Marquette, Georgia, I think was in there at one point.
Yeah, they can only remain for a week and then they're quickly out. So hopefully, Southern California, I have some faith in you. Let's stay for 2 weeks.
Literally. Okay, do you have any idea what games are coming up this week besides your big Wisconsin-Penn State face-off?
Let me look. Okay, well, probably nothing Monday and Tuesday because there's never any volleyball on Monday or Tuesday. Wednesday, we have Nebraska facing Northwestern, Texas playing Kansas State.
Ooh, that might be good.
Auburn is hosting Kentucky.
Mm.
That's kind of it for Wednesday. Thursday the 9th, we have, Stanford hosting Oregon.
Yup.
Be a good one.
Yup.
UCF is hosting BYU. Arizona State is hosting Colorado. Houston's playing Oklahoma. That's it for Thursday. Friday, we got Wisconsin and Maryland playing. Louisville plays Duke. Pitt and Georgia Tech play again. They have a rematch. Washington State hosts UCLA. This will probably also be a good match. Tennessee hosts Georgia, so we'll see if Georgia can pull out another ranked win. We got Kansas and Iowa State, Creighton, Seton Hall, Purdue, and Minnesota, but this time Minnesota is hosting. So we'll see about that.
Could be what gets Minnesota back.
Penn State hosts Michigan. Baylor hosts TCU. Florida hosts LSU. That's for Friday. For Saturday, we got Penn State hosting Wisconsin. We have Stanford hosting Oregon State. California hosting Oregon. Arizona State hosting Utah. Baylor and TCU again. Not too much excitement. And then on Sunday, we have Nebraska playing Illinois in Nebraska. Washington State is hosting USC. Kentucky is hosting Georgia. Purdue hosts Michigan State, which I feel like that might be a pretty good match, actually.
That will be. I agree.
And then we have Mizzou hosting Auburn.
That could be good as well.
We have an in-state battle, FSU playing Miami.
Ooh.
And then Indiana hosts Minnesota, which I don't actually know who's going to win that. I feel like that would be give or take. And then Maryland hosts Ohio State. And for more Big Ten, Rutgers hosts Michigan.
Michigan been on a little bit of a roll.
Yeah, and that's what we got for volleyball this week.
All right. Well, we've got a big week. I am looking forward to next week, episode 20, to hear all about Liv's time in Pennsylvania and Happy Valley. I'm excited for you. Bring me back a sweatshirt or something, would you?
I gotcha.
Take so many pictures. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see everything. Obviously, I talk to you in real time, so I'm sure I'll be funny, but we'll make sure that Liv gets a lot of stuff for everybody.
Yeah, I will be posting all over social media, so make sure you follow along. I will be posting a bunch of content from the football games. So if you're a football fan, you'll see some of that. Who do you have, Penn State or Michigan? It's about a 50-50 chance, so I don't know who's going to win that.
I don't know.
And then who do you got, Penn State or Wisconsin? Obviously, I'm banking on Wisconsin, but if Penn State can play like they did against Nebraska, it's a little scary. So we will see.
Yeah, I'm taking Wisconsin, but I'm thinking this is going to be a great match. I'm hoping for another attendance break. To be honest, I think that the way Nebraska went, I'm sure that there will be so many fans at this game for you, which makes me excited for you being your first time there. So I'm excited, and I'm shaking my computer up. Thank you guys again for watching and listening in. This was another exciting week. More big games coming up. Liv's going to have tons of content on social media, so make sure you're following along, and we will see you next week.
Yes.